Hey guys, tonight we are talking about the seven wonders of the ancient world. The birth of the idea of the wonders, long before modern travelers began compiling bucket lists of must-see places. Ancient scholars, poets, and explorers created their own catalogs of awe-inspiring structures. These became known as the seven wonders of the ancient world. The term wonder in this context, derived from the Greek word thaumato, meant something extraordinary or astonishing. The ancient Greeks, who had a keen eye for beauty, architecture, and grandeur, were among the first to identify a curated list of remarkable achievements that showcased human ambition, skill, and artistry. The idea of creating a list of wonders emerged during the Hellenistic era, around the 4th to 2nd centuries BCE, when Greek influence and culture spread widely following the conquests of Alexander the Great. As Greek travelers explored distant lands like Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Asia Minor, they encountered magnificent monuments and temples built by civilizations much older than their own. Inspired by these encounters, Greek writers began documenting what they considered the most impressive feats of engineering and architecture. The earliest known references to such lists come from Greek authors like Herodotus, Antipater of Sidon, and Callimachus of Cyrene. Antipater, a poet of the 2nd century BCE, is credited with one of the earliest surviving lists of seven wonders. In his epigram, he praised structures like the Great Pyramid of Giza, the statue of Zeus, and the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. For the Greeks, the number 7 was significant, symbolizing perfection and completeness, a reason why they chose 7 wonders instead of a larger or smaller number. These wonders were not just architectural marvels, but also cultural symbols of the civilizations that built them. They reflected religious devotion, political power, and artistic genius. For example, the temple Artemis at Ephesus stood as a testament to Greek artistry and religious dedication, while the towering Colossus of Rhodes symbolized triumph over adversity. The Great Pyramid of Giza, the last survivor of all the wonders on the list. Only one has survived into the modern era, the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. This monument is not only the oldest of the 7 wonders, but also the most enduring, standing as a bridge between the ancient and modern worlds. Constructed during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu of the Old Kingdom, the Great Pyramid was originally part of a complex of pyramids built on the Giza Plateau near modern-day Cairo. It was designed as a tomb for Khufu, reflecting the ancient Egyptian belief in the afterlife and the pharaoh's divine status. The scale of the pyramid is staggering. Originally standing at 146.6 meters, it was the tallest man-made structure in the world for more than 3,800 years. Its base covers an area of 13 acres, with each side originally measuring about 230 meters. Constructed using an estimated 2.3 million blocks of limestone and granite, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, the pyramid represents an unparalleled feat of engineering. One of the great mysteries of the pyramid is how it was constructed. Ancient records do not provide detailed accounts of the building methods, leaving modern scholars to speculate. Some theories suggest the use of large ramps, while others propose more complex systems of levers and counterweights. Despite centuries of study, the precise techniques remain a subject of debate. The interior of the pyramid is just as fascinating. Unlike the smooth, geometrical exterior, the inside contains a labyrinth of passageways and chambers. The most significant rooms are the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, and the Grand Gallery, a narrow, ascending corridor that leads to the burial chamber. The precision with which these chambers were aligned with the cardinal directions and certain celestial bodies reveals the advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics held by the ancient Egyptians. The Great Pyramid was originally covered with smooth white Tura limestone casing stones, which reflected the sun and caused the monument to shine brilliantly like a jewel on the desert sands. Over time, these casing stones were stripped away, leaving the rougher core stones visible today. When the Greeks encountered the pyramid, they were astonished by its size and craftsmanship. It became an emblem of human ambition, inspiring countless legends and myths. Even today, the Great Pyramid draws millions of visitors, standing as a testament to the ingenuity of ancient civilizations. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, a lost mystery. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon are perhaps the most enigmatic of the seven wonders. Unlike the Great Pyramid, no definitive archaeological evidence has been found to confirm their existence. Yet, they have captured the imagination of historians and storytellers for centuries. According to ancient accounts, the gardens were built in the city of Babylon during the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar II. They were said to be an artificial mountain of lush greenery, featuring tiered terraces planted with exotic trees, flowers, and vines. The gardens supposedly rose to heights of 75 feet or more, creating the illusion of a verdant mountain in the middle of the arid Mesopotamian landscape. The most popular story behind their creation suggests that Nebuchadnezzar built the gardens for his wife, Queen Amadis of Media, longing for the green hills and forests of her homeland. Amadis found the flat, dusty plains of Babylon depressing. To please her, Nebuchadnezzar ordered the construction of the gardens, creating a paradise that reminded her of home. Descriptions of the gardens by Greek historians, such as Strabo and Diodrosiculus, paint a picture of extraordinary beauty. They wrote of towering terraces with intricate irrigation systems that pumped water from the Euphrates River to nourish the plants. This advanced hydraulic engineering, if true, would have been a remarkable achievement for its time. However, the Hanging Gardens pose a historical puzzle. Contemporary Babylonian texts make no mention of them, and archaeological excavations of Babylon have not uncovered clear evidence of their existence. Some scholars suggest that the gardens might have been located in Nineveh, the Assyrian capital, and that later writers mistakenly attributed them to Babylon. Others argue that the gardens may have been a myth or an exaggerated tale of royal gardens that once existed. Whether real or legendary, the Hanging Gardens symbolize the human desire to create beauty and harmony, even in the harshest environments. They represent an early fusion of nature and architecture, inspiring countless works of art and literature throughout history. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, a monument to the divine. If the Great Pyramid stood as a monument to the afterlife and kingship, the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus embodied the grandeur of religious devotion. Located in the ancient city of Ephesus, this temple was dedicated to Artemis, the Greek goddess of the hunt, wilderness, and fertility. The temple, also known as the Artemision, was not just a place of worship but a symbol of the wealth and power of the city of Ephesus. Origins and construction. The first temple on the site is believed to have been constructed around the 7th century BCE. However, it was the later reconstruction in the 6th century BCE, funded by the wealthy Lydian king Croesus, that made the temple one of the greatest architectural achievements of antiquity. Designed by the Greek architect Tryphoron and his son Metagenes, the temple was built on a grand scale, measuring approximately 115 meters in length and 55 meters in width. Its massive marble columns, each standing 18 meters high, formed a double colonnade that surrounded the structure. What set the Temple of Artemis apart was not only its size, but also its exquisite craftsmanship. The temple was constructed entirely of marble, a rare and luxurious material at the time. The columns were adorned with intricate carvings and sculptural reliefs, while the walls featured magnificent decorations depicting scenes from mythology and the life of Artemis. The temple also housed a large cult statue of Artemis, made of gold, silver, ebony, and ivory. Unlike the youthful huntress often portrayed in Greek art, the Ephesian Artemis was depicted as a mother goddess with multiple breasts, symbolizing fertility and abundance. Pilgrims from across the Mediterranean traveled to Ephesus to pay homage to her. The destruction by Herostratus, the temple's fame, also attracted darker deeds. In 356 BCE, a man named Herostratus set fire to the temple, reducing it to ashes. His motive was shocking. He sought eternal fame by destroying something so magnificent that his name would be remembered forever. The Ephesians executed him for his crime and decreed that his name should never be spoken. But ironically, his infamy survived through historical records. On the very night of the temple's destruction, legend has it that Alexander the Great was born. Some ancient writers, such as Plutarch, suggested that Artemis was too preoccupied with the birth of the future conqueror to save her temple. Years later, Alexander offered to finance the temple's reconstruction, but the Ephesians politely declined, saying that it was not proper for a god to build a temple for another god. Rebirth and legacy. The Temple of Artemis was rebuilt in even greater splendor around 323 BCE. This version of the temple became one of the most famous landmarks of the ancient world. It served not only as a religious center, but also as a marketplace, treasury, and cultural hub. Merchants and travelers would gather there, making it a vibrant symbol of prosperity. However, the temple's grandeur could not shield it from the passage of time. In 262 CE, it was destroyed once again, this time by the Goths during their raids of Asia Minor. Though it was partially rebuilt, it gradually fell into disrepair. By the 5th century CE, after the rise of Christianity, the temple was abandoned and its stones repurposed for other buildings. Today, only fragments of the once great Temple of Artemis remain: columns, foundation stones, and scattered ruins. Yet its memory endures as one of the seven wonders, celebrated for its immense scale, artistic beauty, and the devotion it inspired in generations of worshippers. The statue of Zeus at Olympia, the divine in human form. At Olympia, the birthplace of the Olympic Games, stood a colossal statue of Zeus, the king of the Greek gods. Crafted by the renowned sculptor Phidias in the 5th century BCE, the statue was a masterpiece of classical art and a symbol of the Greek ideal of divine perfection. The sanctuary of Olympia. Olympia was one of the most sacred sites in ancient Greece. Every 4 years, athletes from across the Greek world gathered there to compete in the Olympic Games, held in honor of Zeus. At the heart of the sanctuary stood the Temple of Zeus, a grand Doric structure built between 466 and 456 BCE. Inside this temple was the magnificent statue of Zeus, which would later be recognized as one of the seven wonders. Phidias and his masterpiece. Phidias, who also supervised the construction of the Parthenon and sculpted the statue of Athena in Athens, was commissioned to create the statue of Zeus around 435 BCE, using a technique known as chryselephanton. Phidias constructed the statue from a wooden framework overlaid with gold and ivory. Ivory was used to form the flesh of Zeus, while gold adorned his robes and ornaments. The statue was colossal, standing approximately 12 meters tall. It depicted Zeus seated on a majestic throne, exuding authority and serenity. In his right hand, he held a small statue of Nike, the goddess of victory, while his left hand grasped a scepter topped with an eagle. The throne itself was richly decorated with carvings of mythological scenes and inlaid with precious stones. Ancient writers marveled at the statue's lifelike quality and grandeur. It was said that Zeus's head nearly brushed the temple ceiling, giving the impression that the building was too small to contain his divine presence. The Roman historian Dio Chrysostom wrote that anyone who saw the statue would think they had beheld Zeus himself. The fate of the statue of Zeus remained a revered attraction for nearly 800 years. However, like many of the wonders, it eventually disappeared. By the 4th century CE, as Christianity became the dominant religion in the Roman Empire, Pagan sanctuaries like Olympia fell into neglect. The statue may have been moved to Constantinople, where it is believed to have been destroyed in a fire around 462 CE. No trace of it survives today, except for ancient descriptions and copies of its design found on coins and reliefs. Despite its loss, the statue of Zeus left an enduring legacy. It embodied the Greek pursuit of ideal beauty and divine proportion, influencing generations of artists and sculptors. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus, a tomb fit for a king. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus, located in what is now Bodrum, Turkey, was not merely a tomb, it was a statement of power, love, and artistic mastery. Built in the mid-4th century BCE, this monumental structure served as the final resting place of Mausolus, a Persian satrap of Caria, and his wife's sister, Artemisia II. It was so grand and unique that Mausolus' name became immortalized. The word mausoleum, used for monumental tombs today, originates from his burial place. The satrap and his queen, Mausolus ruled Caria, a region under the Achaemenid Persian Empire, from 377 to 353 BCE. During his reign, he moved the capital to Halicarnassus, a city he developed into a thriving center of culture and commerce. Mausolus was a visionary, blending Greek and Anatolian traditions, and Halicarnassus reflected this fusion. When Mausolus died in 353 BCE, his widow Artemisia II was inconsolable. More than just his wife, she was also his co-ruler and confidant. To honor his memory, Artemisia commissioned a tomb so magnificent that it would ensure his legacy lived forever. She summoned the most renowned architects and sculptors of the time, including Satyros, Pythias, Scopas, Leocharis, and Bryaxis, to design and decorate the structure. The design of the mausoleum. The mausoleum combined elements of Greek, Egyptian, and Anatolian architecture. It stood approximately 45 meters high, dominating the Halicarnassus skyline. The structure was built on a rectangular platform and featured a multi-tiered design. The lower section consisted of a massive stone base adorned with relief sculptures depicting scenes of battle and mythology. Above this stood a colonnade of 36 Ionic columns, which supported a stepped pyramid roof. At the apex of the pyramid sat a colossal quadriga, a chariot drawn by 4 horses carrying statues of Mausolus and Artemisia. This crowning sculpture symbolized their eternal journey into the afterlife. The sculptural decorations of the mausoleum were unparalleled. The finest artists of the Greek world carved friezes depicting scenes of Amazons, centaurs, and gods. Each side of the mausoleum bore the distinctive style of a different sculptor, creating a harmonious blend of artistic genius. Artemisia's devotion and death. Artemisia's grief for Mausolus was legendary. According to ancient sources, she mixed his ashes with wine and drank them, believing it would unite them forever. She died just 2 years after Mausolus, and her remains were placed alongside his within the grand tomb she had built. The fate of the mausoleum. For nearly 1,600 years, the mausoleum stood as a marvel of craftsmanship and design, admired by travelers and chroniclers alike. However, the structure was gradually damaged by a series of earthquakes between the 12th and 15th centuries CE. By the time the Crusaders of the Knights of St. John arrived in the 15th century, the mausoleum lay in ruins. They repurposed many of its stones to fortify their castle in Bodrum, a structure that still stands today. Fragments of the mausoleum sculptures were later recovered and are now displayed in the British Museum in London. These remnants towering statues of Mausolus and Artemisia, as well as portions of the reliefs, offer a glimpse of its former grandeur. The Colossus of Rhodes, the giant of the sun. If the mausoleum symbolized love and remembrance, the Colossus of Rhodes celebrated victory and resilience. This enormous bronze statue, dedicated to the sun god Helios, was constructed on the island of Rhodes around 280 BCI. It stood as a powerful emblem of the city's independence and strength. The Siege of Rhodes, the story of the Colossus, begins with conflict. In 305 BCE, Demetrius I of Macedon, known as Demetrius Poliorcetes, attempted to conquer Rhodes, a prosperous island state with strategic importance in the eastern Mediterranean. The Rhodians, with help from allies such as Ptolemy I of Egypt, successfully repelled the siege. In the aftermath, the defeated army left behind vast quantities of military equipment, including siege engines. Rather than view this as mere spoil, the Rhodians saw an opportunity to celebrate their victory and honor their patron deity, Helios. They sold the abandoned weapons and used the proceeds to fund the construction of an extraordinary monument, the Colossus. Construction of the Colossus, the project was overseen by the sculptor Chares of Lindos, a pupil of the great Lysippus. Using advanced techniques for the time, Chares built the statue from bronze plates over an iron framework. It is believed to have stood approximately 33 meters tall, making it one of the tallest statues of the ancient world, roughly the height of the modern Statue of Liberty from her feet to her crown. The statue was placed at the harbor entrance or nearby, where it gleamed in the Mediterranean sun. Helios was depicted as a powerful, youthful god, possibly holding a torch or a spear. Ancient accounts suggest that the statue was so large that few could see it entirely from up close. Construction took 12 years to complete, and when it was unveiled, the Colossus was hailed as a symbol of Rhodian unity and divine favor. Destruction by earthquake. Tragically, the Colossus stood for only 54 years. In 226 BCE, a massive earthquake struck Rhodes, toppling the statue at its knees. The fallen remains lay on the ground for centuries, and even in ruin, the Colossus continued to inspire awe. Pliny the Elder wrote that few people could wrap their arms around the thumb of the fallen giant. Though several rulers, including Ptolemy III of Egypt, offered to fund its reconstruction, the Rhodians declined, fearing they had offended the gods. In 654 CE, when Arab forces raided Rhodes, the remaining bronze was reportedly melted down and sold as scrap metal, ending the physical existence of the Colossus. Nevertheless, it remains immortal in history as one of the boldest artistic achievements of the ancient world. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, beacon of the ancient seas. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, also known as the Pharos of Alexandria, was not just a wonder of architecture, but also a triumph of engineering. Constructed on the small island of Pharos off the coast of Alexandria, Egypt, it guided sailors safely to one of the busiest ports of the ancient world. The rise of Alexandria. The city of Alexandria was founded by Alexander the Great in 331 BCE, but it was under the rule of the Ptolemaic dynasty that it became a hub of commerce, culture, and scholarship. The harbor of Alexandria was bustling with ships from across the Mediterranean, but its waters were also treacherous, with reefs and sandbars threatening unwary vessels. A grand lighthouse was envisioned to solve this problem and to serve as a symbol of Ptolemaic power. Construction of the Pharos. Construction of the lighthouse began during the reign of Ptolemy I Soter and was completed under his son, Ptolemy II Philadelphus, around 280 BCE, designed by the Greek architect Sostratus of Cnidus. The lighthouse was an architectural marvel that combined functionality with monumental beauty. Standing approximately 100 to 120 meters tall, the Lighthouse of Alexandria was one of the tallest man-made structures of antiquity. It was built in 3 tiers, a square base with a central staircase, a cylindrical middle section, a smaller circular tower topped with a statue, possibly of Zeus or Helios. At night, a large open flame was lit at the top of the tower, while mirrors and polished bronze reflected its light during the day, enabling sailors to see the beacon from miles away. Impact and legacy. The Pharos became an enduring symbol of Alexandria and a prototype for future lighthouses. Sailors and travelers marveled at its ingenuity, and it was celebrated in countless accounts by ancient writers. However, like other wonders, it could not withstand nature's wrath. Between the 10th and 14th centuries, a series of devastating earthquakes damaged and ultimately destroyed the structure. Today, underwater archaeological surveys have uncovered remnants of the lighthouse's stones in Alexandria's harbor, preserving its memory. A window into human ambition, the seven wonders of the ancient world, though separated by geography, culture, and purpose, share a common thread. They were built to transcend the ordinary and leave a mark on history. Each structure was a manifestation of human ingenuity, skill, and ambition. Whether built to honor gods, rulers, or collective victories, they demonstrated what was possible when imagination met craftsmanship. Why seven? The Greeks, who compiled the original list, believed that the number seven had special meaning. It was associated with perfection and completeness. Appearing frequently in mythology and philosophy, the seven sages, the seven Pleiades, the seven strings of a lyre. To the Greek mind, choosing seven marvels symbolized a complete set of wonders that represented the pinnacle of human achievement. The idea of curating such a list also reflects a distinctly Hellenistic worldview. Greek travelers and writers like Antipater of Sidon sought to catalog the known world's greatest sights, much like how modern people create lists of must-see destinations. The seven wonders, therefore, became a kind of ancient travel guide for those who wanted to see the extraordinary. A comparative look at the wonders. Each of the seven wonders tells a unique story, yet together they form a tapestry of cultural values and aspirations. The Great Pyramid of Giza symbolizes the Egyptians' obsession with eternity and the afterlife. It was both a tomb and a gateway to the divine. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, whether real or mythical, represent humanity's desire to bend nature to its will, creating beauty in unexpected places. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus stands for religious devotion and the blending of artistic and spiritual ideals. The statue of Zeus at Olympia is a celebration of divine majesty, capturing the Greek belief in gods who mirrored human form and emotion. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus highlights the human need for remembrance, transforming a tomb into an everlasting tribute. The Colossus of Rhodes embodies resilience and civic pride, commemorating victory over adversity. The Lighthouse of Alexandria demonstrates the practical genius of ancient engineers, who could build structures that were both functional and majestic. The role of art and engineering. One of the striking features of the Seven Wonders is their balance between artistic beauty and structural ingenuity. The Greeks and their contemporaries didn't merely build for utility. They sought to create works that inspired awe and admiration. For example, the Lighthouse of Alexandria was not only a crucial navigational tool, but also an architectural triumph that combined form and function. Similarly, the mausoleum at Halicarnassus was more than a burial site. It was a carefully curated work of art, with sculptures that brought mythological scenes to life. For example, the Lighthouse of Alexandria was not only a crucial navigational tool, but also an architectural triumph that combined form and function. Similarly, the mausoleum at Halicarnassus was more than a burial site. It was a carefully curated work of art, with sculptures that brought mythological scenes to life. Destruction and the passage of time. Despite their grandeur, 6 of the 7 wonders have been lost to history. Earthquakes, fires, invasions, and neglect have claimed all but the Great Pyramid. This impermanence reminds us of the fragility of even the mightiest human creations. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, if they existed, may have been destroyed by natural forces or simply faded into history due to neglect. The Temple of Artemis was rebuilt several times after being burned down, but ultimately succumbed to invading forces and natural disasters. The statue of Zeus and mausoleum at Halicarnassus were destroyed by fires and earthquakes. The Colossus of Rhodes was toppled by an earthquake, its remains sold as scrap centuries later. The lighthouse of Alexandria crumbled due to seismic activity over the course of several centuries. Yet the memory of these wonders endures, carried forward by historical texts, archaeological fragments, and the imaginations of artists and scholars. The Great Pyramid, the last survivor. The Great Pyramid of Giza holds a special place among the wonders, not only for being the oldest, but also for surviving over 4,500 years of history. It continues to inspire awe, not only because of its scale, but because it represents the apex of ancient Egyptian engineering. Modern researchers still marvel at how the pyramid was constructed with such precision. Its alignment with the cardinal directions is almost perfect, and its proportions are mathematically remarkable. The pyramid has become a symbol of endurance, a reminder that some human creations can withstand the test of time. The influence on later architecture and culture. The Seven Wonders have influenced architecture and art for centuries. From the Renaissance to the modern era, artists and architects have drawn inspiration from the grandeur of these ancient marvels. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus inspired countless monumental tombs, including the Taj Mahal in India. The Temple of Artemis influenced temple design across Greece and Rome, setting a standard for classical architecture. The Colossus of Rhodes inspired the design of the Statue of Liberty, another towering symbol of freedom and unity. The Lighthouse of Alexandria provided a model for modern lighthouses around the world. Even today, the phrase Seven Wonders has become a cultural shorthand for any list of extraordinary achievements, from the Seven Wonders of the modern world to the new Seven Wonders of the world, chosen by global vote in 2007. The new Seven Wonders and global legacy, the fascination with the Seven Wonders hasn't faded. In fact, the concept has expanded, with new lists celebrating remarkable landmarks and feats of modern engineering. The new Seven Wonders of the world include sites such as the Great Wall of China, the Taj Mahal, and Machu Picchu, modern counterparts to the ancient wonders. Yet, the original Seven Wonders remain unparalleled in their mythic status. Their stories have been passed down not just as historical records, but as narratives of human aspiration. They remind us that even thousands of years ago, people were striving to create something enduring and beautiful, something that would outlast their own lifetimes. A reflection on human achievement. What makes the Seven Wonders so compelling is that they embody both the strengths and limitations of humanity. They show what people can achieve when driven by creativity, faith, and determination. At the same time, their destruction serves as a sobering reminder of the forces, both natural and human, that can bring even the greatest achievements to ruin. From the dazzling gardens of Babylon to the towering Colossus of Rhodes, the Seven Wonders were designed to inspire awe. And though we can no longer walk among most of them, their legacy lives on through the stories, ruins, and echoes they have left behind. The eternal wonders. In totality, the Seven Wonders of the ancient world are more than a list of architectural marvels. They are a narrative of human ambition stretching across cultures and centuries. Each wonder tells a story of the people who built it, their beliefs, their challenges, and their dreams of immortality. We may never again see the Temple of Artemis in its glory, or gaze up at the Colossus of Rhodes as it stood proudly above the harbor. But by remembering them, we connect with the shared human desire to create something timeless, something that whispers to future generations. We were here, and we dreamed on a grand scale. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe for more videos, sweet dream.